I lost it. And I mean, I really lost it. And I was dropping flark bombs, if you will, left, right, and center at the Guardians. And then we cut and I looked around, everybody was like, oh, wow.
Hello, my name is Plumb, and it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to be hosting this very special conversation with the nominees in the Performer in a Leading Role category for this year's BAFTA Game Awards. But just for everybody at home, on the bus, wherever you fine folks are, would you guys mind going around the class and introducing yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is John McClaren. I play Starlord in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Kelly. I play Colt Vaughn in Deathloop.
I've got to say it's a bit freaky having both you and Ozzy here because I'm getting slightly triggered thinking that Juliana is in the room right now.
Yeah,
and I'm
you
panicking.
and me both. You and me both.
It's tough. It's tough.
Hello, I'm Ozioma Aka, and I play Juliana Blake in Deathloop.
Hello there. My name is Jane Perry, and I play Celine in Returnal.
Jennifer Hale. I am nominated for Rivet in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Such a fun role. Oh my God, I love that game so much. I've known for a few things, probably most notably Mass Effect, Metal Gear Solid, BioShock Infinite, even like the Powerpuff Girls games. I've done a few games, just a few.
Wow, to follow that up, my name is Erica Mori. I play Alex Chen in Life is Strange, True Colors. And just like Jennifer, I've been in a lot of things. I'm just kidding. It's only True Colors. It was my first audition. It's the first thing I've done. And I am so delighted to be here.
You're getting princess claps. Thank you.
You are. Get these.
And this is one of my favorite questions. Would you say is your most memorable bit of direction whilst performing your roles for these games?
Is this a family show or?
Could we use the word flark as John is here if you need to swear?
It's not that word. Favorite bit of direction, my favorite thing, it's not the most, it's kind of unusual, but Chris Zimmerman, you know, the unsung heroes of these things to me are our voice directors, along with, of course, everybody on the dev team and all the writers. And like, we're the ink in the pen, right? You can see us, but behind us are these incredible people. And Chris Zimmerman Salter has been with me my entire career. I think one of my first classes in how do I do this was with her. And it's so incredible to me that she directed me for this. I've never been nominated for one of these, and this is my first time. And it's just like, it's so perfect. Chris and I have this thing when she directs me where we know we just are so connected. She'll go, and I'll go, and then I'll do exactly what she had in her head. She'll go, ah, and I go, ah, and then we do it. That's like my favorite thing.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. It's
That's
total.
incredible.
Total. Yeah.
For one of the scenes in Deathloop, I don't remember what we were doing, but I got to eat a croissant. So several times to do several takes. And that was my favorite moment, definitely.
There was a day on set where my character Starlord loses it, just completely loses it. And what was great is our cinematic director, Daryl Purdy's so fantastic. Was always really encouraging us to make the characters our own and ad lib if we need to. And during this scene, I lost it. And I mean, I really lost it. And I was dropping flark bombs, if you will, left, right, and center at the Guardians. And then we cut and I looked around, everybody was like, oh, wow, you might want to, that was great, but you might want to bring that back just a little bit. I had a lot of fun with it, but you know, sometimes you try things and they don't always work.
I think I had an interesting experience playing Celine because she's much more fit than I am. And so having to act out being so extraordinarily fit was challenging sometimes. So, and I have to echo what you said, Jennifer, about the unsung heroes of our performance directors. So Damien Goodwin directed me in Returnal and really kept an eye out for those moments, of which there were many, where I really felt I was going to hyperventilate and completely faint, because she is always running. She's always on the move and she's in a rush.
The direction that I had to get used to, this all being brand new, was Webb Pickersgill, our performance director for True Colors, would always tell me to split the difference. And I'd be like, between what? between what? Is it volume? Is it intensity? Like, what is it? And so now it's kind of become a running joke between us. If he wants to lighten the mood and I'm on set, he'll just tell me, Erica, just split the difference.
What presumptions do people make about your jobs that you'd love to clear up?
I think there might be a presumption, perhaps, that it's easy, and that you just go in and you don't have to learn any lines. And you go in and you show up, and like, what's the big deal? And I think that it is kind of, it's skilled work, really.
Just my least favorite question is, do you act too?
Oh.
Why, no, not at all. I just act on steroids. Because what we do, it's the equivalent to green screen acting, only we don't so much of the time, unless we are, like, I love performance capture, right? That's like my favorite thing. But so much of our work is, even after a performance, if you're doing performance capture for a character, afterward, you'll go back and pick up a bunch of stuff or do stuff that's not PCAP. And, we not only have to, as you said, put the person in place, we have to imagine what just happened. We have to imagine the physical environment. We have to add in all the things. And people don't realize we often record out of sequence. So we'll do a moment from the beginning of the game, and then the next line could be from the middle of the game, and the next line could be between those 2 points, then back to the end, then back to the beginning. So we constantly have, we're juggling many, many tennis balls at once. And that's the great value of our directors as well. But yeah, it's not just talking.
I feel like a lot of people, you do work on a video game and they're like, oh, he's just doing the voice. But there's a divide between, it's like, well, sometimes it's not just voice, it's also the performance capture as well. And I think there's maybe a bit of a divide, or maybe a lack of understanding or lack of clarity, perhaps, that people don't realize that, sometimes it really is a full body, full acting experience. As you said, Jennifer, you are fully invested, and it's in a way kind of a, as you said, splitting the difference between kind of a film and like theater world, if you will, where you're in the volume, you're doing work, and you're just kind of nonstop until lunch, and you're go, and then take a quick break, and then you're right back at it. And it's, as you said, it's not as easy, I think, as people might think.
It's physically taxing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that, you think, listen, I even thought it myself when I first got into this. I was like, I'm just going to go to the booth. I don't have to put on makeup. I don't have a 5 a.m. call time. I get to sit on a chair. And no, I actually, after when I started to really do this and get on many games, I stopped sitting down. You can't, for me, for me at least, a lot more physically taxing than going on set and doing something film and TV.
I did have, I had a full death day where we were just going through all these different versions of the ways Colt gets murked, and it was some of the more taxing work that we had done, and I really had no idea what to expect, because this was the first real lead role that I've had in any kind of anything, really, be honest with you. I was exhausted after 4 hours, absolutely exhausted after 4 hours, to the point where like you said, Jennifer, I came home, I couldn't talk for, a day or two. I just needed my vocals simply just to rest, because, Colt gets killed a lot, and he gets killed in a lot of different ways. The amount of effort and time that gets put into these games is equivalent to any Pixar movie. And yet we don't always get the same level of recognition. The games don't always get the same level of recognition unless it's within specifically the gaming industry. And just from me to BAFTA, this is one of the things that I appreciate the most, is that you all have not separated out gaming into its own little category and its own little world. You've brought it within the realm of this prestigious organization and awards, and said, hey guys, this is just as potent and just as important form of art as film, TV, and stage. So I think that's the thing that I would love people to take away, is that this is some of the finest acting you can find out there, and it's some of the finest creative work you can find out there.
Well
Well
said.
said,
And
Jason.
can I say, as a gamer, I have spent hours and hours in all of your company, like whole days. You know, when you do a save and it goes, you've been playing this for 52 hours. Now, I'm not trying to disrespect Pixar. We picked out that particular glorious part of the creative industry, but that would be 2 hours at a pop. I'm spending hours with Erica, for example, having some really intense emotional moments. To talk to you guys today, it's almost more surreal than it would be if I was in front of, let's go there, Robert De Niro. It's bizarre. So, at the risk of being too pretentious here, how did you find your characters in each individual game?
I started with the relationship with my brother, both in the game and in real life. That was truly, I think, a big touchstone for Alex. And you mentioned physicality. I also wanted to find like a unique physicality from when she starts the game and comes to Haven to as she develops and learns more about herself and comes more into her own with her powers, and finding how she might move and respond to particular stimuli that was different in episode 1 than it was in episode 5.
Colt, for me, I hooked into his sense of humor right away. That was what I found first, and we built from there forward. I read the material and immediately knew how to make him, I knew how to make him funny. I knew where his sense of humor was at, and it lies in his ability to get deeply frustrated, but still push forward with not a smile on his face, but at least one inside of his heart, because he's just not going to quit. I start walking around in his physicality and start playing around with the voice and trying to pull from different characters that I've played in the past. And I've said this before, I pulled from Jim Brown, Samuel L. Jackson, individual who will not be named, who likes to slap people. And
I immediately saw like the impish nature of her, the impulsiveness and the play and the ribbing, which is pretty close to who I am, but she just goes further than it is socially acceptable. And so I was like, yes, you know, it felt kind of like a release every time I went to the studio. And so now that we're not doing Deathloop anymore, I don't know where to put it.
You're going to have to do a sequel.
She randomly calls me and just insults me whenever she then hangs up.
You know, for me, the auditions come in and it always springs to me from the writing. The writing is everything, right? And then the image they give you, of course. But something about her just called to me. You know, she's been through it, but she has not let it win by changing who she is. And I so got that. And I've been so gifted with some incredible roles in my career, which have deeply connected with people, you know, who in the playing community. And it means so much to me. But a lot of them, you know, in the last chunk of time have been this sort of very deep piece of me, you know. And the fact is, as actors, we're trained to have this variety, and the variety that I've been able to do in my career is my favorite thing. So, and, you know, doesn't matter where you are or what your age is, all the other versions of you are still alive in here. So to be able to go back vocally and live back here for a while was just, it was amazing. And she fights for the right thing. She doesn't give up, and God help you if you piss her off. And that I relate to that so much.
I think with Starlord in the very early days, kind of like Jason, I kind of understood almost his awkwardness. He's kind of a clumsy guy, right? And he gets himself into a lot of trouble because of it. But really, he's a guy who has a heart of gold. He really does mean well, even though a lot of times he causes his own, you know, his own struggles, and he has to use his quick wit and to get out of a lot of situations. And I kind of got that really early on, and the team very early on let us know that these characters are not to be the MCU. They are not to be what's been seen in the comic book. They wanted the gaming to be its own, kind of universe and its own story in a way, with its own unique character set. And the game has a lot of themes around, loss and grief and, finding new family, regardless of what that looks like. And, going from a place internally, from those very humanistic behaviors or feelings, I kind of built it off of it that way. And I kind of took Starlord, I just tried to connect it with the material, finding like experiences. And no, I have not been to space, but, but, if you really dig down to those very basic human qualities and try to connect with it on that level, then I think, making it your own kind of becomes natural. And that's kind of the approach that I took.
Jane, is this where you reveal that you have been to space?
Yes, I have, actually.
Right. Well, that's the research that you guys weren't willing to do.
Yeah. Oh, I was willing to go to space. No, I would love to go to space, but for Celine, I'd go anywhere for Celine. And so in terms of finding Celine and some of the other characters I played, it has really been about that relationship with the performance director, in this instance, Damien Goodwin, and then also Greg Loudon, who is the character and narrative director for Housemarque, the developer. We worked really closely together to bring Celine off the page, and spent, a good chunk of the first day just figuring out, who is this woman? And of course, I think like most of us, we all start with the image. So I look at the image and how she's standing, and how she's kind of facing the world, and sort of take on that posture, and that gives you so much kind of information. And then you go from there, and then obviously the script as well. But it really is that collaboration between the game developer, the performance director, and the actor. That's certainly been my experience.
Jason, you said something that's been so present in my heart. I've done this a long time, and I keep saying that, but it's so true. And this community has not been ever recognized in such a meaningful way as the way BAFTA sees and recognizes us. And that, being seen is such a deep human need, and it means so much. And I'm just so grateful. Geez, this must mean a lot, because here I go. I think what people don't realize is the voice is so powerful. It is our human, it's the oral expression of the human soul, each unique soul. And we're through the work that games do and what we create works, the oral expression of the human experience, right? And there's a universality to that, and like a tuning fork that hits people in the heart and the soul. And I think, to tie that into the influence of games in modern culture, games are leading pop culture and not being credited for it, I think, appropriately, or to the extent that I wish they would, and I think they should. Movies are copying game culture, and yet just going, yeah, we did that thing. But it's because of the creativity and the brilliance and the dedication and the slogging work of every single dev out there, every single support staff, every single writer, every single one of us. Like we are leading pop culture. And you're right. And people spend weeks and weeks with us, in these roles and in these experiences. And, we have this huge responsibility to live a full human experience, so that they can, so you guys can when you play. It's massive. Yeah. And also people are co-creating with us. When you play an RPG, like you're co-creating the outcome, you're co-creating the choices with us. So you're a co-author, so you're deeply invested.
Can I just say, it has been truly an honor. I've loved hearing you tell us all about your craft, what you do, shouting out all the key people that people who play the games may not necessarily recognize. Often it's just name of game, maybe Jason, Ozzy, fine. But there are thousands of people that put these games together. So just again, to double underline that, thank you to everybody who puts these wonderful things together, because we are, as gamers, so grateful.